Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stone, away with another Horror Night presented by VSW Podcast. Tonight, we got a very special guest with us. We got Joshua, owner of Horror Depot, Dark Arts Festival. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but welcome to the show.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Man, another Thursday night, I like Thursday nights. Thursday nights are good for me because Friday's a payday, Thursday's a chill night. I'm always having a good time. I've never had a bad Thursday night.
Me either. I was actually watching Survival Island, the first Killer Pinata movie before we jumped on this. So yeah, I was enjoying my night too.
I was watching Darkwater. I'm a J
Nice.
horror fan. I like to go back and watch a lot of those like early 2000 Japanese horror films, and especially now that they're getting a lot of re-releases through like Arrow and other companies. The quality is differential, and you're kind of just seeing it again differently.
Yeah, one of my favorite companies out right now is Saturn Core. They're putting out a bunch of shot on video stuff that I grew up with, like the really
Really?
hard to find stuff. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look them up myself. I'm a big collector of the physical media just because it's what I grew up with.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I mean,
The
I love
video
to have a
store, you know.
VHS collection, but I'm still hesitant on that. But seeing, these things being brought in and special editions being released in cool poses and slip covers, I'm a sucker for all of that stuff. I own like, 4 versions of the same film because every 2 years they're throwing out a new edition or something, more grand. But I like it. I mean, it's good for the cons. You get those posters signed, it's fun.
Yeah, man. I don't get autographs as much anymore now that I like work in the shows. I never like some of the celebrities. I'm like, oh hey, like they're just regular people now, you know?
It becomes a little different. I mean,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
instance, I don't work shows, but I sponsor a lot of pro wrestling shows, and like the ones that I end up sponsoring and having a table for, which I try to sell off stuff or push my podcast. I tend not to be so much the fan and going and buying an autograph and taking the photos. I'll do it nonchalantly if it's someone that I was, something special coming in. I'll do it try to before or after, but during showtime, kind of like just casual. But I think were you at Fairhaven?
the expo,
Yeah,
Monster Expo.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't work for them, but I work with them.
So I think I met you there. I think I spun your
Yep.
wheel. I won free tickets and so forth. You were like
Yeah.
right in the entranceway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how I got your name. I remember I went through my contacts of that day. I had you and one other author. The author never got back to you, but you I had on my list. And then I saw that, the email went out and reminded me again that I won free tickets to the Dark Arts Festival. I was like, oh, sweet. I forgot all about that spin. My lucky spin that day.
So the app that I used, I forgot to upload the free tickets. So it was like 3 weeks later, and I was doing something. And I said, "Oh man, all those people that won tickets, I should probably send them those tickets." So I'm glad it worked out because, like, I sent you a free ticket to the festival, and here you are. So you know what I mean? Like it all works out. It all works out for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like I said, that was a cool day. I liked that Monster Expo because it wasn't overwhelming. There was only about 3 to 4 guests there. It was very manageable in my eyes. You could wait for all 4. You had some fun. A lot of cool vendors. A lot of cool stuff. In and out if you want. The only thing I didn't like about the day that it was raining like no tomorrow, and trying to get collectibles in the rain back and forth. No fun.
Yeah. But you know what? That the show itself, every Monster Expo is like that. We kind of, and I kind of do the same thing if I have celebrities. They're not like A-list celebrities, but you only need a couple to make it worth it. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the horror movies that we enjoyed as kids, these celebrities weren't A-listers, and the movies weren't Hollywood blockbusters. They were cult classics by VHS and home production, and people just going to theaters to watch these private viewings. When their initial came out, everybody booed and they were appalled and disgusted by this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
70s and 80s, it was hard to break into horror as being a mainstream, oh my God, movie. It's not like today where these things sell out. People are talking Megan 2, and it's not even a great movie. But people, have hyped it up. Back in the day, the horror movie wouldn't have been hyped like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Horror is a really interesting thing. I remember when I was young, like when I was, in my late teens, early 20s, I got really into it. And I went to conventions all over. And nobody from the 80s was there because it was still, it was the 90s. You saw a few
of them. It was still active. A lot of them were still active.
Yeah. So what I got a lot of 70s people and older. Like I met both creatures from the Black Lagoon at shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the classic Howard days.
Yeah, yeah. The first time Frankenstein. A picture of Frankenstein with the green makeup. I think that was Sarah Koloff did that at a convention. And dude, like back then there was no real internet or anything like that. To see the picture live, it was like one simultaneous gasp of like 100 people in a room.
Did they do a Polaroid for you at least?
Yeah, so she had a slideshow of stuff of her dad, and then she had the one picture of him in the green makeup, the only one. And when she put it up, it was in a small hotel room. I think it was at Monster Bash in like 2000 maybe, or 2001. And that picture came on, and it was like standing room only. Sorry, my cat's ass is in the screen there. And you could hear everyone was like like it was a monumental thing to see it, and we were the first public audience to ever see it. So it's funny, like now I go to conventions and everybody's from the 80s, you know what I mean? Everybody's from the 90s.
But that's because I think a lot of those 80s movies, they're hitting these monumental marks. You got the Return of the Living Dead anniversary. You got all these anniversaries that are hitting, and it's like, okay, well, these people are still good enough to come to conventions. Let's go.
Yeah, Jaws. They just did a thing in Martha's Vineyard for the 50th anniversary of Jaws too. So
I saw that. That was incredible.
I didn't get to go, but from what I hear, it was awesome. So
but it's good. I mean, 80s had a lot of good horror films, so we're kind of lucky to have that experience, because there is a lot of cult classics that are out there that you want to see the stars of. Or, I mean, not me personally. I've gone into these cons late in the game. I'm older now. When I've been watching horror since I was a little kid, since I could rent a movie. But as going to conventions, not really. I did mostly wrestling stuff, pro wrestling, indie wrestling. And then, through friends and talking, I was like, oh, wow, there's a whole world of horror out there, too, just like this, that I can go and check out. Let me check this. I mean, as a kid, I remember going to, like, Star Trek conventions and stuff, but, I just didn't have the asset or the means to get to the horror. And, I found it earlier this year, and I've been kind of hooked ever since. I know September is going to be a busy month. It's like conventions every single weekend, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But the vibe is so cool. Just everybody's just there with the passion for horror.
Yeah, horror conventions are unlike any other convention too. It's a really laxed vibe. And even my festival, like, it's not a horror convention, but it brings the same elements, and it's just a really cool, like, chill vibe through the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, if you go to a Comic-Con, you'll notice the difference right away. Really. I used to go to Comic Cons when I was younger, and I always had issues at Comic Cons, but I never had an issue at a horror con ever. So
No, I can see it. I mean, I, excuse me, it's dry here with the AC and the heat. But I've noticed, even in wrestling, I've seen, meet and greets. I've been to meet and greets. I've met female stars, and the way the people, some of them act, just atrocious. And not for nothing. I mean, we saw Linnea Quigley down at the last, convention I went to. Everybody uber professional. She even had like unrated, images to sale, but nobody was, inappropriate. Nobody was disrespectful. Nobody was, being derogatory. Not like what I heard at the wrestling meet and greets. I mean, some of that stuff was just like, whoa, I'm cringing myself just being here now with these people. Everybody had this respect for, whatever it is. There was a maturity level. Yeah. And I think that was a difference for me. And also just the way the flow, the people in line, there wasn't people elbowing you out the way, trying to knock you out so you lose your spot. There wasn't all of that. People were just like, okay, cool. We're all in line together. Let's make the best of it. If you want to talk, talk. If you don't.
Yeah. I got a story for you. One of the Monster Expos. I do security sometimes for the Monster Expos here and there for the celebrities or whatever. And I did a line one year, and I want to say it was Felissa Rose had this giant line, and it was cutting into everybody, and I needed to move the line, and I wanted to make sure everyone heard me. And I'm a pretty muscular guy. I got the beard, the hair. I can be intimidating when I get loud. And I was like, everybody move over here. And they were like, all right, cool, man. And they just like strolled over, and I was like, oh, I don't even need to yell. Like, I don't know why I thought I did. And then I was like, oh, hey guys, thank you. And they were like, yeah, no problem, man. Like it was.
Yeah, you only have to yell just to be loud. It's like, I remember we didn't have it like that, but we were waiting for CJ there. And, the line was cutting through, and they was like, and they were being loud, but you could tell they were like a friendly loud. Like they weren't like being rude about it, because they could tell people are just like, okay, wherever you want us to stand, we're going to stand. We're here to wait for the celebrity.
Yeah,
you want us to wait outside, we'll wait outside. We don't care. Just tell us where to stand. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, people are just grateful to meet the celebrities,
Yeah, because that's the thing. They also know that there's no cutoff. Like with the wrestling, you'll get notice of a meet and greet. You could get there, but you could get a cutoff, and all of a sudden you get there, and they're like, "We're not accepting any more people." It's like, or you could be in line for 45 minutes, and they'll cut you off, and be like, "Oh my god!" Now I know people at the convention; they got to see everybody. The lines weren't outrageous. You might have an hour line at the most, but you could meet everybody you wanted to see if you planned it right. There was no not meeting your people you wanted to see.
Yeah.
And the bigger conventions, I know they get a little rowdy too, but they're like at least 2 days, so then you can spread it out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So.
You pick who you want to wait for one day, and the other day you pick who you want to wait for. It's just there's going to be waiting. Now you also run Horror Depot. You said it was like a collaboration website, video, a little bit of everything to do with horror. When did you start that?
Oof. So I actually started, man, maybe 6 years ago, maybe 2018 or
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while. I had a website up for a while, but I'm not like a programmer, and kept crashing. And I had some people selling horror stuff on the website, and I was selling stuff, and it was working kind of. I was like getting my feet wet, trying to learn how to run a business kind of thing. And then in 2020, I had a podcast for a while, and I did that for like 3 years, and then I was like, I really want to focus on more events, and I really want to get the website to work again, which I haven't done yet. The website's there. you can see all the event stuff and all my
Well, if
past
you ever
events.
need, I'm a programmer, so if you ever need any help, just shoot me a message.
Oh,
Say,
look
hey,
at that.
I can
I,
take a look. I went to Clark University out in Worcester for graphic and web design back in the day, but I've stayed with it since then. So
yeah, I
I
might be
might be
hitting
able to
you up.
actually
So,
help you with your problem there. Um,
that would be awesome. I'll definitely talk to you after this for it.
yeah. I mean, I'll definitely take a look and see what we can do to help you get it up and running. I love people that still make websites. I feel like websites, in some extent, are on the way out because the information on a website gets outdated more quickly than like a Twitter or a Facebook, where people are just constantly feeding the information. On a website, you got to go and update and physically go and update. There's a few apps that will update for you, but for the most part, somebody's got to go there and update. But to me, the quality of content that can be put on the website is like 10 to 1 of what you're going to see on social media. You can get high resolution videos, images, all this stuff without any restraint or anything. And I think that's why I like a website over social media, from if you can put it together for promotion. But yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. The website now, I don't have much for the Dark Arts Festival, but it's going to be up hopefully soon. I just kind of been working on getting everything situated, but yeah. So maybe, so I did the LLC. I finally became like a legit business in 2020, but it wasn't until 2021 or 2022 where I was like, I really need to focus on this. And
Well, I'm
that's
guessing the pandemic kind of slowed you down a little bit.
yeah, I was doing a podcast anyway, so it
Well, the
wasn't a big
podcast, no,
deal.
but the live events must have. I mean, you're
Yeah,
probably there. The
yeah,
live events were almost non-existent for a while around here, anyways.
yeah. And then when I did some live events, like it was like, like holy crap. But then it died down, like everything else, like
Yeah, the buzz.
when yeah, the buzz of like, oh, we can go out, like that died down pretty quick. So yeah, I started doing the things that I really wanted to do, like independent film screenings. And
Nice.
I started doing those, and like the Capitol Theater has been really good to me. Up in Arlington, I've been working there, doing some stuff, and there's a couple other theaters I worked with here and there. And I love that because the idea behind that is, who wants to just go and watch a movie? Like, you want to go and meet the people and buy the swag and like have an event be like it's an event. And I usually
Yeah, I
have
mean,
like,
I always consider something like that. It's the difference of buying, the standard version, or like, the version with, the director's input and all these other special features. It's like, well, yeah,
yeah,
I'd rather get the full experience. Let me see the director. Let me meet a guest. Let me meet a star.
yes,
Especially on
exactly.
the indie scene, because you're gonna go home, you're gonna watch this movie, and some of these people might, they might not be A-listers, but they're right there. You might as well meet them and see them, because they're still doing a good job making a movie.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's exactly it. And some of the movies I've shown have been very unique,
that's what I
and really
learned
good.
in the indie scene of pro wrestling. Because I go to a lot of shows around, and some of these shows are they're right under the level of what would be WWE material. Some of them are even succeed that, but it just comes down to the almighty dollar. What's your budget? Not the average person has the budget as a production company or New Line Cinema. So you work with what you got. It's not going to be the same quality, but that doesn't mean the story isn't better, isn't told better. It sometimes can even be told in scarier and more, grittier, because it has less of the Hollywood effect and more of the storytelling. And let's work with what we can work with the fact.
Yeah, so that's what I really like about independent horror. Um, and I'm like, what, 3 years in, maybe? This will be the third Dark Arts Festival, so 3 years in, and I've worked with, man, including having the film fest at the Dark Arts Festival, and um, other things. I've worked with maybe 150 to 100 like independent filmmakers in one capacity or another, either being in the film I've been asked to be in a bunch of films, shorts like we just talked about that, doing some short horror films.
Yeah.
I've produced a bunch. I've got to act in a bunch, and that it's just amazing. Like
Well, when I
how
can't
good
sleep
it
at
is.
night, I mean, I just throw on like Alter on like YouTube, and I'll just let this shit run all night, and it's like short after short. But some of this stuff I look at as, hey, I could do this. I have the
Oh, absolutely.
mindset. I have the the storyline. I even have the personnel. It's just a matter of putting everything together and actually getting. Sometimes it's a matter of getting off my ass and doing it. Sometimes, like I said, you know trying to find the right camera and equipment to actually do it so it actually looks something legitimately independent. I would say it doesn't have to look Hollywood, but I don't want it to look like it's just something off a phone. I feel that's the lazy way to go, in my opinion. I know the phone does great work and can get good photos and video, but it's like, I think of all the people that work with a 16 millimeter. I'm like, they'd be cringing at just somebody filming with a phone. They'd be fucking
Yeah.
rolling in their grave right now thinking of this shit, being like, what is that? As you know, they work with the media in hand. And that's the same, I think, as a photographer that, would develop their own photos and such. I think, we as a a whole universe have lost a lot of the physical touch of things. And that goes even with media. That's why I do like DVDs and Blu-rays and all of that stuff, because you can touch it. You can, it's not on my Amazon Prime to just click and watch. It's something tangible. If you buy a special edition, it comes with a book I can physically read.
Yeah. So right behind me is my library. I have an entire library of books and physical media. One wall is physical media, and then I have like literally library shelves down the room of books. So yeah, film and reading are like my two top things to do when I
Yeah.
have the time. I make time every day to read. I make time to watch a film.
What do you like to read? What do you read right now?
Right now, I'm reading not another '80s horror novel by my friend Sean McDonough, and I'm actually reading that for a book club that I'm in. I'm in like a true crime book club and a horror book club. So shout out to my Ashaway book club. We do horror book club, and we have the author from the book at the club every month.
Oh,
So
that's
it's really
cool.
cool.
And
Yeah,
again, I think that makes things more personable. When you meet the
right.
people that are behind this, then everybody reads a book and has a question of how to interpret something, or might want to praise something, and having that person that was created it, it's awesome to make it. It makes it really just an intimate process, I think.
Yeah,
And no matter what you do, if you have the creator there, it just makes it that much, more special.
yes, that is exactly the truth. I do that for the screenings. The dark reads. It's literally all independent horror authors. Even the festival itself, like the Dark Arts Festival, even that, it's just you get to meet the artists, you get to meet filmmakers like they're there in person, and there's nothing better than that. You know what I mean?
No,
Because you
there
can
isn't.
pick their
And it
brains.
has its benefits. I mean, granted, okay, you're not meeting Stephen King today, but that doesn't mean that, this person's not going to take off in 10 years. I've
Yeah,
met people on the independent wrestling scene, and they're on TV right now doing wonderful things. And that's just with any indie scene. You're good enough, you can get picked up. It's also, like I said, just because it's independent doesn't equal not good. It just means, like I said, it's independent. That means that it's independently run. It's not majorly run by a company. This is a person or a few people, a group of buddies, a small business. It's no different than going to a small business farm or a small business grocery store and buying for them rather than a big supermarket. You're just going to a smaller source that might even have more value for the dollar because they have more time and they're not working to appease so many masses. Sometimes you have to appease so many masses that you end up losing sight of what you're doing.
yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
And that's when you step back and you're like, okay, you know what, I'm going to lower what my demo needs to be, or or I don't want to lose sight of myself or what my project vision is. A lot of people lose sight of that due to commercial value, or some people, it's like I said, just to appease masses. And you can't make everybody happy. That's just the facts of the world. You being an event runner, you know that every fan, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten some comments or feedback, gripe, or somebody complaining about something.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
It happens anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter where you work,
nature of the
retail,
beast.
anywhere. Somebody's going to complain about something. Some things naturally just happen wrong. Some people just love to complain. Some people have a profession of just going to places, doing things just to complain about it.
Yeah. There's a lot of that too. So
I mean, there is.
some people are never happy, and it's unfortunate.
And unfortunately, misery loves misery, and people like to see other people miserable. So sometimes they think they can, drag you down. But I mean, that's just life, and sometimes it's competition. People get jealous, and even doesn't matter if it's podcasting or whatever you do. Somebody out there might not like you, and they might try to sabotage you. That's just part of the way things kind of go.
Yeah, it happens quite a bit. You'd be amazed.
It does. You don't. I mean, I've learned to just not pay attention and just keep moving on, because dwelling on this stuff it only halts my productivity, creativity, all of that. So I just keep take that negative, push it away. It's whatever. Keep moving forward. Keep just grinding. Keep doing whatever you're doing. You have the people that do like you, that do watch you, that do engage with you, and then everybody else. It's like, okay, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. I'm not here to make you happy. A lot of the stuff that I do is for fun. So I'm like, either which way, I'm having a good time.
So you hit the nail on the head. There's billions of people on this planet. I was not put here to make all of them happy. And what other people think of me or what I do, I don't really care, because it doesn't define who I am, and it doesn't define what I'm going to do with my life. And that's, I say that to myself quite often. Like when I start getting frustrated, I'm like, why bother with the haters? They don't define who I am. They don't define what I do. They're not going to tell me. And I've been told numerous times, like, if you just do the dark reads and it's just authors, no one's going to come. And then the first one I did, a couple hundred people showed up. So that's way better than I thought I would do. Everyone said no one would show up. With the festival, there's a lot that goes into putting together the festival, and a lot of people are like, oh, you can't do that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, then you don't have to come. It's as easy as that. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and if you don't like it, that's not a me problem. And if your opinion of me is negative, that's not a me problem either, because it doesn't define who I am.
No, it doesn't. I mean, honestly, if they think they can do it better, then by all means, they can have their own festival, right? I mean,
I've said that to a few people too.
You can do a better podcast. You can have more, whatever. Then go do it. Just go set it up and do it. Why are you listening to me? Go do your own.
My favorite thing in the world is, like, just get it done. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have something that you want to do, like, the universe told you to do that, you need to go out and do it. Whatever that may be. For you, it was this podcast, right? For me, it was the festival. And, through the years, I've grown the festival. And this year, it's going to be right at Rhode Island School of Design in downtown Providence. And I'm blessed that they saw that. They saw the old festival. They knew who I was, and they actually asked me to do the festival there. They said, we don't have the space. And then they called me back a few weeks later and said, hey, you're the Dark Arts Festival guy, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, can you come in? We want to show you this. And so, yeah, I like.
Not only like did you get the venue, you were kind of pretty much invited by the venue, which is even more popular. Because I mean, it's one thing to buy a place, but when they kind of want you there, it's like, okay, they've seen value in me, viewing what I've done in the past. They think that we can do something good here. Let's go all in. Let's make it happen. And why not? I mean, what's there to really lose by taking these kind of risks or taking these ventures on? There's nothing really, honestly. And like you say, sometimes you do just have to do it. Regardless, there's a million reasons not to do something, but there's also, if you look, there's a million reasons to do it if you want it done. If you don't want it done, then it won't get done because then you never really want to do it. But if you really want it done, you can get it there. You can do it.
Yeah. And the festival itself, like, now I'm just going to give the spiel of the festival. The festival itself, it's a lot different than everything else out there. A lot of people have oddity shows. A lot of people have horror conventions. A lot of people do like goth nights. This is a mixture of like all of it. And it's really diverse. Like I have, I got a couple of spots left for artists, but I have, filmmakers. I have an author alley. So there's like 6 authors in the alley and a couple of publishers throughout. And then I have paranormal. I have Dark Echoes Paranormal, which is on Amazon Prime right now. They're my special guest. And then I have Severity Stone, who was on Dragula and RuPaul's Drag Show. 6'6" drag queen. I'm so excited to have her as a special guest, and that's going to be a performance. She's going to do a performance as well. And then on top of that, Dark Echoes Paranormal is going to do a performance. And then, so for my horror people, I have Corey Deanne Crowley from Tennessee, and she does like extreme horror. Like she uses real bugs in her horror and blood, like real blood, menstrual blood. Like she's crazy good.
She's working the fine line of what the video people allow. Everything but live animal kills.
So and she's probably going to show a film as well. So I have the extreme horror, then I have like the drag queens, I have paranormal, and then I have a guy named Bryce Choquette. He is autistic and he makes films, and he did
amazing.
Yeah. So we showed his film last year. So this is the 3rd year in a row where an adult with a disability will show a film.
I think that's great because I mean, just like again, like you say what people say about you doesn't define you. I don't think a disability defines a person so much.
Exactly.
They're fully capable of doing this, and sometimes they might need a little extra help, a little care, whatever it is to support. But they still can put out amazing products, and a lot of people with disabilities, they might be disabled in one way, they seem to be more creative and excel in others. Which, like I said, it's great to be able to support that. And to showcase that is amazing because they deserve a place to be showcased. Sometimes I can see it being brushed aside because of outward appearance. People just thinking, oh, it's going to be whatever. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Don't judge. That's the worst thing you can do in any situation is judge. Never judge anything until you see it.
So he did a movie called Robotic Circus last year, and I got to be part of it. He was attended the first one. The second year, so the first year I had Sam and Maddie's Spring Break Zombie Massacre, and they both have Down syndrome. They made it years ago. It's a great short film if you can find it. Wonderful film. The special effects team from The Walking Dead came to help them.
Oh, wow.
Really, really cool. And then, so Bryce, last year we showed Robotic Circus. Bryce wrote the script, he directed it, he filmed it, and then he had to edit it because the editor messed up. So that's available on YouTube, and I highly suggest you check it out. And, somebody said to me, well, it's not the best film. And I was like, this guy did all of this by himself. There's so much heart and soul in this film that it blows other films out of the water. You know what I mean?
It does. Yeah. I don't know, but I can say it probably can because, I mean, here's the thing, and I think, and I'm going to be quite blunt, whether it's horror, books, wrestling, whatever, I say the same thing. It's all very subjective.
Yes.
What scares you might not scare me. I mean, what's your favorite horror film?
Creature from the Black Lagoon scared the crap out of me.
Like, I like Cannibal Holocaust. I think the shocking events makes for a
yes.
For a good found footage film, especially in an era shot where found footage didn't exist. But like I said, two different, very different films. You know, but somebody today would say Black Lagoon is not scary at all. That's a, you know, creature feature. That's not even horror.
Yeah, I saw it. I was a child, and you know what
Yeah.
it was? It was the hand that got me, and I was like, ah.
I mean, I saw Nightmares on
Yeah,
Elm Street as a child. Freddy was scary. Jason was scary. Michael
yeah,
Myers was scary. But if I was to watch it now as an adult, I wouldn't say, "Oh my god, those scare me." Those are cool slasher films. But it's like I said, it's all subjective. It's all what you got into when you watch horror. You know, you
yeah,
mentioned Jaws. There's people that wouldn't go in the water from watching Jaws. Kids watch Jaws today. They're like, "Ooh, big shark. Let's play with it." You know,
yeah,
it's two different worlds, and that's the thing about horror. So, like, to say a movie's not good, it's like, well, you didn't like it. Okay, cool. We all like and dislike things. That's opinions. We all have them.
yeah. So the funny thing about Bryce Choquette's film Robotic Circus, they're animatronic clowns, and it's funny. I was actually showing a couple of people the film today. I was telling them about it, and they looked up the trailer, and these two ladies turn around and they go, "Yeah, it's clowns. We don't do clowns. We're not. We can't watch this. I'm already freaked out."
I
And
know a few people with clown phobia. It's a real thing
yeah,
out
yeah, it is. So kudos to Bryce. You know, and last year, standing room only in the venue for that film, and the
there.
Q
I
and
gotta go
A,
look
I
this up.
actually had to cut it
So I'm
short.
gonna go back. This will be one of those episodes I go back and take notes and watch all these cool things. But you know,
So
that's great. Standing room only means that it sold pretty well. That's packed.
yeah, and that was inside the festival, so like people got to see it in the festival. And that's cool. And he's working on the prequel to Robotic Circus, and he's filming it next month. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's cutting it close." I said, "You don't understand, Bryce. He's gonna have that thing filmed and edited, and literally to me for the festival. Like that's how he works." Um, so that's cool. And you know, I also have a lot of artists that have disabilities, and they come to every single dark arts festival, and they sell art. They sell beautiful art. Natasha Cohen or Colin, I forget her, like the last name is weird spelling, but she does Disney and horror, and sometimes she mixes them together. I own like 3 of her pieces. Great artist. She's there every year, every year. I can't wait to have her back. So
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like I said, disability doesn't define. You can be a great artist. You can be a great
yes,
author. You can be a great filmmaker. You could have great ideas. You
yeah,
know, like I said, you might just need a little help in certain areas, but that doesn't mean any of those other things have changed. And you know, it doesn't again define you. These are just unfortunate things that are part of us. But you know,
yeah.
with the right help and the right support, I think anything's overcome. You know,
So
I love to hear though that you give these people a platform because, like I said, a lot of people would turn their way or say, "Oh, maybe it's not good," or not give it a chance. And I hate to see that stuff, but unfortunately, we live in kind of a weird world where you know, yes, there's a lot of sympathy, but there's also still a lot of coldness and brutality out there. It's a dual-edged sword out there. So you do have a lot of compassion. You do have a lot of things that people are like, cool, this is great. Let's open everything up. And then there's people that are like, no, screw you and screw everything else. And so like you
yeah,
live like that, you know.
so that's
But
what
I
the
love seeing
festival.
that.
Yeah, that's what the Dark Arts Festival really is. Um, Everyone hears the name and they're like, "Well, the Dark Arts Festival," and it's not like that. You know, there are like it's a mixture like you wouldn't believe. Like, yes, there are. So I'm going to have all abilities art classes running throughout the day at the festival, right? And people came up to me and asked me specifically about the art classes just so they could come and learn different art skills and make things. And I was like, okay. And it's at the Rhode Island School of Design, so that makes sense. Um, but then, like, you know, realistically, you have like Wiccans and Satanists who are shunned basically by normal society.
Oh yeah.
They're they're selling art right next to Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, uh, like Catholics, and they're
I mean,
all in the same area, just talking to each other and hanging out. because they
I've
share
studied
a
a lot of
common goal.
occult and a lot of different things, whether it be, the Church of Satan, and Antoine Levy's work, or, some of my favorite would be Michael Ford's work out of Texas. And, he's an astounded author with, dozens and dozens of books, a lot of them in stores. Because it's,
Yeah.
Satan or Lucifer, it does get shunned and pushed, but they make a living selling books on these topics because there is an interest in these topics. These things are all valid beliefs, religions, and everything else out there.
Yeah, yeah, and
so do you feel like it's almost a safe haven? People can go out and just believe what
yeah,
they want to believe without the bullshit.
yeah, it very much is. It's a melting pot. You're gonna see every sexual orientation, every color, every nationality.
Do you get people ever protesting the event, like going, "You're gonna burn in hell and shit"?
So I haven't yet. This year, maybe, I don't know. It's in downtown Providence, so probably.
Probably not. Probably not. I
But
doubt it. I'd be surprised.
yeah, I'd be surprised too, especially like because it is so diverse. I
Providence is
sincerely
diverse in
doubt it.
itself, but I
Yeah,
can see some parts of the world, people coming down, and oh, that's blasphemy, blasphemy. That's
so
work of the devil.
it depends. Like I am gonna have 18 plus signs around, like enter at your own risk. This should be an 18 plus event. If somebody goes there who's not an adult, that's not my problem. I'm gonna
Now, do
have
you make that
sideshow.
18 plus because of graphic imagery, nudity? What is the reasoning?
So art does have nudity. I don't think that is an issue if it's in art. And the college itself has a lot of art, and the RISD Museum, like the museum, is right across the street. So if you come to the festival, you can go to the museum and it's free. Also, but the museum has art pieces that have nudity, because it's art. So I do put that there, but I put that there more so for the sideshow performers, because I'll have I have sideshow performers outside, like I have an outside performance area, and there's going to be like belly dancers and risque clothing. And they're not going to be naked, but it's going to look risque, and there's going to be sideshow performers doing some wacky stuff. They put the hooks in and they dance and
Yeah, no, I
things like
get that.
that.
No, I just
Yeah.
think because I have a kid, I bring my kid to probably a
So
lot of stuff I shouldn't, but I'll bring it because I've talked to him a lot early on about cinema, what's real and fake between
yeah,
horror and video gaming. All three, I had to have a long sit down. A lot of this stuff is fake, make believe, special effects, da da da. So he understands all the horror and that. I try to stay away from the nudity and sexuality because I don't want to deal with that yet. He's only 6. The horror
yeah,
stuff I can
exactly.
easily explain. Somebody gets beheaded, I can show you how that's done. I don't want to have the other conversations.
So, and not that not that it's a sexual thing at the festival anyway. It's not. You're not really going to see overly sexual things. You're going to see a lot of horror, gothic. Like, I can't say what the college kids are wearing nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to some fetish goth clubs, and it is what it is. It's a goth club.
Yeah.
There's gonna be things there.
But
people dress up, people show out. I understand that.
So,
and that's with anything, though. I mean, you're gonna have that. I mean, I remember going to a wrestling show as a kid, and people flashing in the crowd. You can't control that. The show can't control that. That's the crowd. You can't, stop that from happening. That's just happening.
So, the idea with the 18 plus signs, because it's outside and inside, and I have the auditorium as well. I am going to put that there strictly because if somebody goes in, so Corey Deanne Crowley, she had the most, the most graphic horror film of 2024, right?
What was it?
I don't remember the name of it. I just remember I wanted to show it last year, but couldn't because we couldn't work it out logistically. But if she shows that this year, I don't want people to be like, oh my God. But, we're also showing a film from an autistic person that's not going to be blood and guts. You know what I mean? And then we're also going to have a paranormal investigating like Q&A in the same auditorium. And
Yeah, see,
then
like I said, I'm really weird. I probably shouldn't, like I said, but when it comes to blood and guts, that stuff again, it
yeah,
doesn't bother me showing the kid because I've shown him the other side. I've shown him the behind the scenes videos that come with the DVDs. Oh, look how they did this. Look how they make it happen. Because he has
yeah,
an interest in film too and wanted to do special effects. So you go through this stuff. How do you make these blood effects? You obviously, you watch enough movies, you see the same actor. Well, you have to say, well, they obviously didn't die in the last film. It was a film. They're not really dead. These are just characters played by a person. The same thing with the wrestling. I had a teacher, yes, people are moving, but no one's really getting really severely hurt like you would think.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because I don't want this stuff repeated, but also because so we do have a better understanding. And same thing with the games, because you hear so many of people trying to imitate video games. First, the speech we had is all this games is cool and all you can do all this stuff, but guess what? It's all stuff you can do within the realm of a video game. It's not real world. You can't steal a car, do 360 loops, and get chased by the police on the highway in the real world. You can in a video game. That's the beauty of video games, to do things that you can't normally do in the real world. And he
yeah,
understood that right away. And, he has the division line of what's reality and what's not. I feel like if I didn't have that, people get confused, man, of what's real and what's not, what you can do. If you don't break it down like that.
yeah, yeah. And it's just a fact of life, and the festival is so diverse, like it's more to protect me than anybody
Oh yeah,
else,
I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
I was just curious if it was
I mean,
something.
there's a
I
costume
might bring, I might
contest.
come. I might bring my son down. I don't know
I'll
because
tell you, it'll be worth it. Just so Scary Acres is sponsoring the event. They're one of my sponsors. Shout out to Candy's Curiosities. That is an oddity store in Coventry, Rhode Island. The oddity store in Rhode Island. She is amazing.
good
So
stuff, huh?
she's sponsoring. Yeah, she's sponsoring the event. She's like the oddities person in Rhode Island. Like she's really the only one and the best one, and she's so knowledgeable. Everyone that does oddities in Rhode Island goes to her for information. Um, so thank God she's sponsoring the event again. Scary Acres is sponsoring the event, and they're going to do a costume contest again
Ooh.
this year. That'll take place inside the auditorium, probably like second to last before like the drag show. And I would recommend to bring your son to that, especially if he likes costumes, because last year the costumes were crazy. I can't imagine what it's going to be at the School
Oh,
of
I'm
Design.
sure. Like I'm a big costume person myself.
Yeah.
I don't really cosplay that much because I don't have time to go to conventions and cosplay. But come October is my favorite season because I can just wear all these costumes. So like the week leading up to Halloween, I'd bring them and walk them to school. We're right around the corner. I go in a different costume every single day.
That's
I'll
great.
be Terrifier one day. I'll be It the Clown. I'll be all these Pennywise. I'll be all these people. And I'm wearing a mask. Some of the time, half of the time, I can't even see. He's holding my hand. But just seeing some of the kids get scared, some of them hiding behind their dad, some of them like pointing, some of them getting excited. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. I love Halloween. My favorite holiday always has been. But
Yeah.
seeing it like kind of, for a while, I think at least where I was, it kind of was like dead. People weren't getting into it. And now the last few years, I'm seeing more and more people, putting animatronics in their houses and setting up crazy displays and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's great to see that happening. But I learned this year, which I'm very happy, that there's horror stuff taking place all year round. It's not just Halloween. You can see horror stuff other times. It's okay.
Yeah.
I thought everything happened in October, and it's funny because I mean, I'm from Mass. I go to Salem all the time. I hang out there sometimes. It's spooky down there sometimes, but
Yeah.
I don't equate that to like Halloween or horror. I equate that to Wiccan, pagan, and witchcraft. I can totally. It does not scream horror to me. It screams something totally different.
So here's the really unique blend. The people in Salem are really into horror, right? And in October, you can't even get to Salem. It's so
Yeah, I don't go down there in October. That's the time.
yeah, ridiculous. So if I can, what I strive to do is actually bring all those communities together. You know, what if I could bring the oddities community with the horror literature community, with the horror movie community, with the drag queen community, with the goth community, and bring them all in one spot to just
Well, then
hang
you would
out.
have the next Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, you got the golden goose there, guy.
Yeah, so it's funny. I almost had the Rocky Horror people last year, RKO Army, but something happened and I had to fill the spot with a horror movie at the end. But they had an hour, and I forget what happened. Yeah, RKO Army was supposed to be there. They're so awesome. And they were going to close the show and they were going to do clips of different movies that they reenact. Like they do Repo and obviously Rocky Horror and a couple other ones. And I was like, oh, yeah, but something happened in like the last month. I had to change route because they couldn't make it. But you know, that kind of stuff happens. You know, sometimes it's just
And
fly.
something can always, I mean, as they say in pro wrestling, cards subject to change, things happen.
Yeah.
You know, even within celebrities, they can, you know, someone can have and they can't get in. They get a, you know, a job. All of a sudden, they got to do a film. They're out. They're going up, you know, to go film. They ain't coming to the festival no longer. And other personal issues. I mean, everybody's human. We all have issues. Things get changed around, but
so
you know, things sometimes happen for the better. Sometimes what comes, you know, instead is even better than what you might have had before. You never know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, you never know at all. So, a quick story. Scars Magazine started back up, and the Candy's Curiosities found a lot of Scars mags, and she put them online. The guy that used to own the magazine contacted her. He said, "You know, I should really start this back up." I just happened to be in the store. We started talking, so he sponsored the show last year. Scars Magazine is sponsoring this year, and he covers all of my shows now. So,
Nice.
yeah, so you know, the Dark Arts Festival will be in Scars Magazine,
That's
and
awesome.
dude, you can't ask for something better than that. You know what I mean? Like we're all in this together, whether you want to admit it or not. And oh, do you mind if I break some news here?
Yeah, go for it.
So after the festival runs until 6 o'clock. So after the festival, I haven't announced it yet, but we're doing a screening of the Curse of the Weird Deer, the trauma film that just came out. And you know, I had a part in it, but the director Ben Johnson is going to be here from Tennessee to like do a Q&A after the film. And that will be after the festival. So we'll be selling tickets at the festival for the movie afterwards.
Oh,
And
that's
that's
cool.
like,
That'll be fun.
dude, it's a wild film. Wild. I forget what the count is, but there's a lot of penis ripping off. That's for sure. It's just completely wild, and it's so much fun. And a couple of the other actors are going to come down from New York to be hopefully part of the Q&A. I'm really hoping. So that's in the RISD Auditorium after the festival.
Nice.
So yeah, and I just put up VIP tickets because some of the sponsors and some of the other vendors were like, "Hey, do you have something that we can put stuff in?" And I was like, yeah. So I put up a VIP ticket. And I mean, you get in a half hour early at 10:30, but you get like a Horror Depot swag bag, and I can guarantee there'll be tickets to something in that bag.
Hey, you never know what you can get in the
Yeah.
swag bag. I love swag bags. I always go VIP just to get swag bags.
Yeah, so you know, Monster Expo usually sponsors because we work together in tandem. I don't know. I don't think they're sponsoring this particular event, but there may or may not be a ticket for a Monster Expo in there. There may or may not be a ticket for Scary Acres in there. There may or may not be a ticket for Dark Reads, which is the author event that I do in March. There may or may not be a ticket for the film after the festival. Like, we don't
Never
know
know
what's going
what
to
you're
be in
gonna
there.
get in there.
Yeah. So those are on sale, and tickets are $10 beforehand, but they're also $10 at the door. I was going to do a higher rate at the door, but I don't want to do that. $10 is fine. So yeah, you can get the tickets at horrordepot.com, or any of my socials. You just
Keep
click
it
the link.
cheap, and this way it lets people have more money to buy from the vendors.
Yeah, and so a lot of the special needs people that have staff, obviously if you're in a wheelchair, you need help getting around. So we do like a buy one get one kind of deal for special needs. Anybody that needs a special, like,
They
everything's
have a
accessible.
personal helper, a one-to-one care.
Yeah. So
Usually get
if
it
you
for
have,
nothing.
so my cousin has profound disabilities and he can't walk well. So sometimes if I take him to a convention, he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So what I did was, if somebody needs special needs and they need help, the staff can get in for free. So
that's awesome.
if anybody is interested in that, please DM Horror Depot on any social media. Send me an email at thehorrordepot@gmail.com, and I'll make sure you're taken care of.
No, that's awesome. I love hearing that. Like I said, I love all that you do for disability, disabled people. Giving them a voice, taking care of them, coming to a convention, coming to a show. These things can get costly, and if you have to bring help in, it's like, oh, okay, well now instead of $50, now it's $100. And it adds up. It's like, okay, well, I could do 10, I could do 20, I could do whatever, but you're allowing and understanding that these people having to pay extra is not really their choice. If they could go alone, they'd probably go alone with a friend. They wouldn't be coming in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a personal choice. And so with that, you kind of take leanings, and I do love that. It's awesome.
Like, I want people to be included. It's not about the money; it's about doing cool stuff. You know what I mean? It's about helping the people that I can. And the space, is expensive. I have some artists on hold; they couldn't afford the space per se. So I have a list of some really good artists that just don't have the money for the space. And if I get another sponsor, then I call them up and I say, hey, listen, the rent's covered, so now I can cut this way down for you to get you in. And that's how I like to run my business.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's similar to wrestling. Sponsors make the world. They allow to cut costs on. In wrestling, you don't have to pay that. But
yes,
it would allow you to free up funds to bring in other talent or put it towards somewhere else.
That is exactly
so
it.
the costs get covered.
And considering there's an outside performance area, there's a drag show, there's a costume contest, there's inside performances as well. There's special guests. There's it's going to be September 7th, so I need water for all the vendors. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to just let people stand outside all day in the heat. So I'll have water for everybody and things like that. And people don't even think about it, but it does add up. And especially permits and insurance and all the good stuff.
Oh, everything. Nothing is free, and it's only getting more expensive. But like you said,
tell me about
if you could get your rent covered, that's a big plus, because then that frees up a lot of stuff. You can get that all covered.
So the space itself, if a seller or an artist buys a space at the festival, that takes care of the rent. You know what I mean? And then the ticket sales pretty much take care of the marketing and the overhead. So at the end of the day, you should be making a profit on your events. But this particular event, I don't do this I'm not rolling in dough from these events. I do these
events. If it comes in green, it's a plus, as long as it's not a total red and total loss. You're not losing your shirt every time.
If I have enough to get a cheeseburger at the end of the day, I'm a happy camper.
That's a success. You've made some money. You've won.
But
I've always told somebody, and I do believe this: if you can get someone to buy your creativity for even a penny, you're a success. That's a thought that came from your head, and somebody else is investing in it, whether it be, like I said, $1, $10 piece of art, $5 drawing, $10 book, doesn't matter what it is, they're investing in your thought, your creativity, your success. You're succeeding in whatever you're doing. You don't need to make millions, you just need to sell one copy, one person to believe in you. That's all you need.
So that's exactly it. And I really try to help as many people as I can. And there are artists that I know that they make their money on their art. And sometimes they don't make a lot of money. And we just had an election year, and it's like the unspoken truth that election year, no one spends money. So a lot of artists were doing shows, but not making a lot of money last year. And that carries over to this
isn't
year.
it like cliche anyway? I'm not gonna say, but it's told that the indie scene, and regardless whether you're an indie artist, it's always a starving indie artist or starving indie, but we're always starving, man. It's always like we're never well off. But part of that starving, I think, is part of the storyteller.
Oh yeah.
An indie artist, an indie person, they kind of need to be that go-getter to be that character to get that done. If they were on top, they wouldn't be as driven as they were. And you can see that in other things. You get to the top, people slow down, tone changes, that hunger kind of goes away, the thirst goes away. It doesn't happen to everybody, but a good percentage. But when you see the people going after and they're still hungry for it, that's a good thing. You want to be starving. You want to be hungry. You want to be out there doing these things, man, pushing yourself, driving, 2 states to sell your book and get your name into some authors, and publishers' hands, and get your art into some, maybe art books, or get them into, other shows or whatever. You want to be able to do that. That means, you want to get out there.
So here's the thing a lot of people don't understand about putting yourself out there. You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail a lot. And you just have to get back up. Dude, I've done events where 2 people have showed up, and I've done events where thousands have shown up. And you never really know. Like this
just
whole thing.
Just because we think we're the best doesn't mean we are.
Yeah. And like,
but it's okay to think you are, because you are kind of what you think you are. If you go out and think you shit, you're gonna go out and always fail. But if you think that you're something good, at least you'll go out with that that confidence that hey, whether there's 1 or 10 people out there, it doesn't matter. I'm doing me.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And here's the thing: I put myself out there. And people will know the show. They'll be like, oh, that's the show. And it's the same thing with this book. If you go out, maybe you'll sell 1 of these at a show, but you hand out 20 cards. Then the next show, you sell 2 of these, you hand out 20 cards. The 3rd, 4th, 5th, by the 10th show, you're selling 20 books and handing out 5 cards. You know what I mean? And people remember you. They're like, hey, I remember you from this. I didn't buy your book then, but I'll buy it now.
Well, that's the thing. They see you there more than once. They know that you're not there for a quick buck or a quick flip. Hey, this guy's invested in himself.
Yeah.
He's doing multiple events. That's not free. He's rented a table. He actually cares about his own product. And they see that as, hey, let me now throw down. I've seen this dude 3 times here.
Yeah. Seriously, like, you saw me at Monster Expo, right? And I had the wheel, and people were spinning the wheel. So I just did Rhode Island Pride, and somebody from Monster Expo came running over. They're like, hey, I spun the wheel at Monster Expo. Can I spin it again? And I was like, yeah, like, that's what it's about. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, I'm so excited. I saw the festival there. I can't wait to go. And like, so then they saw me again, and they saw the festival again, and then they get more excited. You know what I mean? And that's really,
you build an audience, you build a repertoire, you build yourself. People see you down and on ground zero. And I think that's important to be on ground zero. It might not be the most lucrative for you to spend all day at a convention or all day, in a hut outside trying to, get people to come. But it's where you're going to get the most people to say, damn, he's with one of us. Damn, he's with us. Damn, he ain't some big ass CEO. He's down here on ground level trying to get with this.
A lot of people. So here's the other thing. I'm basically a one-man show. I do have volunteers the day of the show, but like, and honest and truly, I had to teach myself how to build a website. I had to teach myself how to work social media. I had to teach myself marketing.
Yeah.
And I'm not better than anybody else or anything like that, but it does, like, at the end of the day, I'm 100% responsible for my show regardless of who's there. And I have to remember that.
So success does look good. It feels good. You can know that, hey, it's because of the shit that I did.
So I have another person that helps me organize the people that apply and helps me lay them out, right? And she's getting the food trucks. I said, listen, just whatever food you think is good for the food trucks, you just contact them, okay? Just let me know what I need to do. But at the end of the day, I'm still responsible for those food trucks making money. And I'm responsible for the people that come to eat at those food trucks. You know
and
what I mean?
Believe it or not, you got to make sure the food trucks are all in like code of what is allowed. I've seen food trucks shut down establishments because their like gas tank wasn't the right direction, and like the whole establishment gets closed because of a food truck. I've seen it.
Yeah,
there's a little bit more work into it, but you're responsible for all that.
Well, I have a fire marshal and police on site. So and that is not only to protect me, but everybody else as well. And I always have security at my shows, and most of the time you won't see them. Most of the time I do plain clothes to come in for the day. And they
less intimidating that way. You don't want to see if you see officers walking down, people start getting nervous and intimidated.
In Providence, in downtown Providence, I do want clothed, like, uniformed officers, just because if somebody's like, oh, what's going on over here, and they want to come in and cause trouble, they see a police officer, they might think twice, and especially because it's such a large area. The festival is from College Street to Washington Street, so it's an entire walkway. The Providence,
okay. Yeah, you got some
area.
Space.
Yeah, I have the auditorium, and then I have across the street at 20 Washington Street, where most of the sponsors will be inside, the celebrities will be inside, and there'll be maps and all kinds of stuff. But it's a big area.
And it's 1 day festival, 1 day,
yeah.
all 1 day.
Yeah, I don't think I could handle 2 days.
No. What's that date again for people to hear?
September 7th.
September 7th.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. Providence has free parking on Sunday. So I kind of did that by design because, people are going to park and have to walk. And the vendors have obviously nice walking space. And where the ramp is, we have specialized parking for handicapped individuals that need the ramp. Like, they can literally park right there. So there's no handicap signs, but we have it coned for, vans and things like that. So, yeah, like, I tried to do everything I could to make it work. There are still a few things I have to do, like make sure the ATM is in the auditorium for, people that need cash for tipping the drag queens and the outside performers, that kind of thing, like little things. But all in all, it looks like it's going to be a really good festival.
I mean, it sounds like something different, something special, something fun, something you're passionate about. Again, putting all those combined, it's like, it makes for a good time. It makes for something that sounds like it's fun. It's enjoyable, not just for the people to attend, but even for yourself. You enjoy putting it on. You enjoy the meeting and seeing and doing what you do. And I think that makes a difference. You're not sitting there worrying about dollars. You're sitting there worrying about, the guests, my this, that, the stuff that you should be worrying about in this kind of sense.
Yeah, my primary concern is first that the sellers and the artists make money, and the performers. I'm going to have signs with their pictures and their QR codes for tips. Like, it's very important to me that everyone else gets compensated for their time and effort. And it's also really important to me, like, when you walk through the festival, watching people really thoroughly enjoy themselves and going, oh, wow, look at this. Oh, wow. That to me makes so much more. It means so much more to me than making the dollar, because like people are stuck in the 9 to 5. People are stuck in the grind, and like a lot of people aren't happy with their lives. And if I can take them out of that for just 5 minutes of enjoyment, then it's totally worth it. You know what I mean? That means the world to me. So that's kind of, yeah. Not to get like stupid emotional, but that
No,
means,
and I
yeah.
mean those are all valid things. I mean, honestly, I would probably, if I saw, I mean, not for nothing, I'll probably be honest. I mean, I would probably tear up if I seen, if I looked over and seen a special needs, artist, selling their art or pushing their film and seeing joy in their face, seeing joy and entertainment in the people buying face, and knowing that, and it doesn't have to just be special needs, but I'm saying probably even more than, because I feel like they don't have that regular outlet that everybody else has. Seeing that, I'd probably tear up a little bit, like, shit, that's a beautiful sight, man. That's everybody coming together in a community. That's people supporting each other. I've supported the indie scene a lot. I've bought T-shirts, 8x10s, bracelets, bullshit, all sorts of things. Sometimes I don't even need half of this shit. I got a whole closet full of T-shirts, but I don't do it for my wardrobe. I don't need it because I do it because I need something to wear. I do it because I know that $20 goes to them and it supports their freaking night. They might not get all they get for wrestling, so all that money on the side, like you said, like the tips and all that, that's their hustle. That's their swag. That's where they're gonna get the extra. That's where they're gonna get the take home. So I don't mind putting to that because I know where it's going. I know that's what they're doing. I like to support that scene. That's why I got into indie wrestling more so than WWE. Those people are well compensated. They get $1 million to go on TV. The indie guys don't. They get $40, some of them, and they got to drive 3 states to make that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and they got to drive and then find a place to stay while they're here. And
no, they don't stay. They'll just drive home. They don't care. They'll do the 8-hour round trip because who wants to waste their $40 on the hotel and lose because in the red? You're already going to spend gas. It's like, it's not a lucrative business at a lot of levels, but you don't do it always for the lucrativeness. You do it for the exposure. You do it for the fun of it. You do it for the thrill, the enjoyment. This is the passion.
So I did some independent wrestling way back in my late teens, early 20s, and you do it because you love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to unfortunately stop, but some friends of mine kept at it, and they did independence for years and years and years, and some of them still do occasional appearances and stuff. And man, you don't do like, and you do a podcast and I do a festival. You don't do things like that just because. You do it because you love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I get an overhead because, apps like StreamYard are not for free, not at this level. Other things are not for free. There's an overhead. If I get a sponsor that month, cool. If I don't, I'm not going to stop doing it because, oh, God, I keep doing it because I enjoy doing it. I'll keep interviewing people. I'll keep talking to people. Because, back in 2020, 2021, I went to, 2018, 19, I got into the independent scene. I took a long time off of wrestling. Me and my friend were doing YouTube. We started doing comedy skits. I saw an old Macho Man video, and it kind of just brought back reminiscence. And I said, we could do something fun with, that's amazing. We could do something fun with this let me do some research, and we were gonna do like some skits on pro wrestling, and then we got another friend involved that turned into we were gonna start our own promotion, and then it's the pandemic kind of hit, and we it turned into something totally different. It turned into then a virtual wrestling through video games, then it turned into a podcast. I said, we've been to a lot of shows in the last 2 years. We've seen a lot of guys and girls. Some of them, great crowds. Some of them not so great crowds. Let's try to get some eyes and ears on some of these people that aren't getting talked about. So I started like deliberately finding people that weren't getting enough exposure and just getting them to try to get them exposure. And then the pandemic happened, and like shorts took off, things took off, my YouTube took off. It was a perfect storm, people at home. Um, but I try to still do that today, give people exposure, because why not? What does it hurt? What does it harm? What harm does it does me having you come on promoting your Dark Arts Festival? It does nothing bad to me. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't take 20 or any, it doesn't take anything out of my pocket.
And that's respectable, because like a lot of people don't understand, like we're all in this together, and if you like something, then you should be like sharing that community and
I'll
really
tell
trying
you
to
a
help.
secret. It doesn't matter whether it's wrestling, it's horror, books, authors, movies. There's enough fans of that genre that they can spend money on you and the next author and the next, producer and the next director. You don't just go and watch one movie. You watch dozens of horror movies by dozens of different people. There's fans for everything. You might hate, this new movie. Somebody else might love it. It might be their favorite film. There's enough fans in wrestling that they can go to two different shows. They don't. It doesn't steal money to help co-promote and be friendly. To say, hey, check this out. They're cool too. I'm okay, but they're cool too. Being modest, nothing wrong with it. Being humble, nothing wrong with it. I find those to kind of be assets, because it puts you in a perspective. A, you're not perfect. You're not in the top. I mean, you're just like everybody else. You're doing your thing. Whether you're successful or not, you're still just out there doing the same thing. You're doing your grind, wherever it might be.
And that's where it's at. It's not the end result. It's the process. That's where all the growing happens. So
that's where you learn. That's where you learn what it's like. I mean, if I look back to my first podcast to now, if I look back from my first interview to now, totally different. I mean, I wasn't even doing video then. I was doing audio only. I was too shy to go on camera. I didn't want to go on camera. Then I saw a so-called rival, and they were doing camera via Zoom, and I'm like, I guess I can step it up. Someone's like, you should do Zoom. I'm like, I guess I'll step it up. And, I got used to the camera, and then, you push yourself a little bit more. I like seeing competition, because I don't care that they do well. They can get billions of views. I don't care if they do better than me. They're not going to steal views from me. No one goes on and says, I'm going to watch this show and deliberately not watch that one. We don't live in that kind of world. People just watch everything.
Yeah.
But there's no harm in saying there's people out there much better than me, that do it better than me, that can do it better than me. It's just, I believe in myself, and that's all.
You just got to do it anyway.
I do it anyways. I believe in myself. I think I'm great at it. It doesn't really matter if I'm not.
So I have Horror Depot has a YouTube channel. All the Q&As from the Dark Reads and the Dark Arts Festival and all the screenings that we've done, they're all on YouTube. But I don't have a lot of followers. Like, I never actually push that stuff, but I've given a copy to every single person that has done something. So let's say Attack of the Killer Refrigerator. I showed that at the first Dark Arts Festival, and it had never been seen, or it was shown in a class in 1984 when they made it. And that was the first real public screening. And the Q&A was wonderful. They were so grateful that people showed up for their film, and so I gave them a copy, and they actually used that copy to pitch to get signed, and they ended up with Terror Vision. So they had like a Blu-ray, and they don't like streaming, but they ended up on I want to say Screenbox, because Terror Vision had a deal with Screenbox. And they were like, we made $6 off that deal, you know. But
again, that's a success. You sold it for $6. That's more than some people can make off their creativity. Or they don't even, or the creativity doesn't even leave their mind to get to the physical process.
Yes, but it was cool because they used like a Q&A that I did, which is really cool. Like Frank Farrell last year at the Dark Arts Festival, Dustin from Baron's Hideout podcast interviewed him, and he dropped the green light that Spookies 2, he dropped the news that Spookies 2 was greenlit at my festival.
That's sick.
Yeah, and I have the Q&A up. I let Dustin post it first. I was like, you take care of it. It's your thing, your interview. Just give the Dark Arts.
I got to brush a little bit kind of in that world a couple of years ago. You know, a friend in the wrestling world, Luke Roberts, he put out a film in the pandemic called Kill City Cup. It's a B wrestling horror film. Basically about a guy that, you know, runs the world in a post-apocalyptic world, and he puts on a tournament, and the winner gets to go free. I would call it like Mortal Kombat times wrestling times like Twisted Metal. Your wish would be granted. He used great wrestlers, people like Brian Cage and stuff, and, you know, they were friends of his. It has some, you know, pretty decent effects, kind of corny. It's a B film. It's made to be terrible. And, you know, he went around and pitched it at a bunch of, you know, conventions. I got to see some of the actors. I've interviewed almost everybody except Brian Cage because he's under contract. But you know, Natalia from NWA, Markover, you know, she was in the video. She was, you know, won it. She talked. But that vibe, you know, I went to a convention and just everybody just, you know, ooh, what's this about? You know, it's not, oh my God, that looks stupid, or that looks silly, or that looks funky. It's like, hey, what's that about? Explain that to me. Tell me about this. You know, because I stayed there for a couple hours, you know, helping out. And my favorite part that made me bring all this was the panels. Because he had a panel going on, and, you know, he had a slideshow. He talked about, you know, how long this movie had been in production, or how long it's been in his head, which was like 10 years in the making, and all the different design changes. And finally, you know, what got, you know, made. And you had a few of the wrestlers there as well, and they were talking about their experience in it. And it was just a cool thing to see. It didn't matter to me that, you know, it was whatever, because at the end, everyone's asking questions. And, like, to me, you're in a movie. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, A, B, C, whatever celeb. To me, you're a celeb. You're in a movie. You're in a movie. I don't care what kind of movie. You're in a movie. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to treat you with the same respect. I'm going to treat you as an independent, you know, movie actor, as I'm going to treat, you know, the Hollywood actor that, you know, been in a million films. You know, you're all the same to me. It's all the same level. You've done something that I've never done, but you've also you've done something, and, you know, you made a movie. You're in a movie. You're an actor.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't cost anything to be respectful and nice.
And I look at the wrestlers the same way. Independent wrestler, you're a wrestler. I don't look at, oh my God, you're an indie star. Author, oh, you're an author. I don't really. The only time I differentiate, if you're talking about like an indie festival or something where, you know, 90% of it is not mainstream. Then I'm like, oh, indie this, indie that. But if I'm talking to somebody, I'm not going to say, well, oh, it's cool to meet you. You're an indie artist. No, to me, you're an artist, man. To me, you're an author. It doesn't matter that you're not signed by a major publisher. You're still an author. You still wrote a book.
Yeah.
The definition of author doesn't say you have to be published.
So I'm just going to put this out here while we're talking independent. So where Scars Magazine and Horror Depot teamed up, and we are going to do a Sinister screening, Blood and Guts edition. And we are going to focus primarily on independent film. It's going to be at Monster Expo Apocalypse in October.
Yes, that's going to be a fun one. I see they got the not to show it, but I was been following these all now since I've been on it. I'm going to the one in July, which is going to be crazy. But I've
Yes.
seen the one now and done, and you got all the people there from like that Goosebumps television show from the
Yeah.
'90s, which is pretty cool.
So because the like Goosebumps people are going to be there, and some people from Monster High, we discussed doing a Blood and Guts Film Fest,
Yes.
and to keep the like the not the mainstream, but like the hardcore fans happy. So we do still have openings for films. So if anybody has a really bloody, super violent, or gory film, please reach out to Horror Depot on any DM, and we will definitely take a look. There's no charge to enter it. Some of the films we already have lined up will have a Q&A, and that is an option too. So we're looking for short films and full features. It's going to be Saturday and Sunday. I think the 17th, 18th, or 18th, 19th. I forget the exact days in October, but we're focusing primarily on independent. So it's going to be like
I like
short
that.
films.
Like I said, I like
full
that.
length.
But I mean, I mean, like I said, independent to me means something I guess different. A lot of people look at independent and they coincide that word with amateur. And
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I don't
think that's the
agree.
same word. I think independent means that like it's independent. You're just not behind a major production. And sometimes that's not sometimes it's because of budget. But other times I think it is because of what you just said. It's to get around all these, laws and rules of what can be, an R-rated film or what even the video producers will even touch because it has this blood, guts, and gore that's not mainstream. People can be like, that's never going to sell to the masses. We want to see the next living, AI doll. We don't want to see some dude losing his arm and then his leg and then his neck.
Yeah.
And then you run into that. Well, what am I supposed to do now? Put out my dream? No, I'm going to independently publish this. I'm going to get somebody else to do it or someone lesser known to put this out so my vision still gets out there. That doesn't mean it's any different than any other movie. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think Terrifier 3 was an independent film. He did not publish it through a major production company. Hollywood said no.
Imagine. That's crazy.
But
Yeah.
because of nobody wants to see a kid get killed by a Santa Claus. That's not an image that Hollywood wants out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree.
But that didn't stop him from putting out the film, but at the end of the day, it does kind of make it an indie film. Just saying, I mean,
they are the most successful independent horror franchise.
It's like GCW of pro wrestling. They have the most bloodiest hardcore death matches. They're the most successfully biggest one, but they're still independent.
Yeah. So,
but I see a lot of coincides between the two worlds because I do work closely with both. But entertainment in itself almost has like kind of a flow that's similar across all boards of entertainment.
Yeah, that's pretty
sometimes
awesome.
You have to go into that indie route to get to the darker shit. I mean, I can't find any good satanic books at Barnes and Nobles. I'll be honest. I have to go to a little mom and pop bookstore in freaking Salem or in some other town that has obscure books or things that nobody wants to touch, unless I want to go online and buy direct.
So I gotta it's a funny story. So I don't buy things at my shows, right? I think it sets a bad precedence because if I buy from one person, I feel obligated to buy from everyone.
Oh yeah,
right. So, but the authors, it was my birthday, so instead of giving me books, the authors took the Dark Reads poster, and every single author, all 45 of them, including publishers, signed the thing for me. And dude, that meant more to me than all the books combined. Like they actually took the time to every single person to actually sign "Happy Birthday, Josh" with their name.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, my wife did that for me.
That's the love of the community, cool. Though. I mean,
dude, I got it in the library. Like, I so I put them. like in the drawer flat so they wouldn't get ruined. I'm like super protective. It's like my pride and joy. And they're all independent horror authors. So like not a lot of people know who they are, but to me, like after the dark reads is over, usually through the year I get a hold of at least almost every single one of them and buy books from them. So
Yeah, it's just at the
yeah,
show, like you said, you buy from one, you buy from them all. Every show, it's going to be a lot of money, and if you don't do that,
yeah, exactly.
people are going to be like, "Well, I don't want to go back. He never bought from me, but he was buying from this one left and right." It's like, what's wrong with me? And it puts
Yes.
you in a weird position.
So the only person that ever got a purchase, my wife purchased art from the Natasha Cohen Colon or
Well, that's
whatever.
okay. That's your
Yeah,
wife. You can buy
she
whatever she
bought it.
wants. You just can't.
So and I walked over and I already knew the art that I wanted, and she one of the pictures she didn't have, so my wife got a fill in. And people were like, "Oh, are you over here buying art?" And I said, "No, my wife's buying stuff. I'm just walking around." and one of the ladies was like, and I was like, "Hey, you don't see any wallet in my hand," and I had to walk away. So that was the only time somebody purchased something, and it was my wife. It wasn't me. Because and somebody called me out just because I was walking by as my wife was buying it, and I didn't know she was buying stuff. It just happened that way. So, in
Yeah,
one
and
of
I mean,
the
but I could see it being just a kind of what. Well, what are you buying? What are you
yeah,
buying?
yeah. Well, this lady
I
was
got
like,
stuff.
"Oh, I thought you weren't allowed to buy anything." And, "Oh, all right," and she was kind of busting my balls, but I was like, "Hey, whoa, 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 whoa!" Before everybody else starts getting on me, like,
Look, it has nothing to do with me.
yeah, and actually, that same vendor, um, she just found out she's got cancer. She has a giant tumor, so she has a GoFundMe, and I actually put it up on my Horror Depot page because she's been so supportive of my shows. Um, so that is up on Horror Depot. If anybody has an extra dollar, cancer sucks. So please, um, that would be wonderful. She works with special needs. She's done all of my shows. She's super supportive to everyone in the community, and it would just be appreciated. So I'm just putting that out there. So
Definitely, definitely. Well, thank you. And I mean, we're just about out of time now, but let me ask you more questions. First off, right now, where can folks buy these tickets to this Dark Arts Festival if they want to buy it right now?
horrordepot.com. There is like the event is right on the front, and it just if you just hit read more, it'll take you to the page. I haven't updated the website too much with special guests and performances and stuff. I haven't gotten that far. Like I said, I'm a one man show, but you can get those tickets there. There are VIP tickets and there are um, $10 tickets. I would say buy in advance so you're not waiting in lines to get in. It's the same price either way, but you don't have to wait in line.
But
So
you can, but I mean, the VIPs might sell out, but the
yeah, I only
show,
have 100 VIPs. I
so
only have
those will
100
probably
bags.
go before. No one's going to be sitting in line going, "Let me grab this VIP day up." But
Yeah, I've
the
already
regular
sold
tickets
a bunch of
themselves,
them.
they don't have to. I mean, I guess technically pre-sales is beautiful, but they're not going to sell out completely before show.
No, no. The only thing with the pre-sale is like it's nicer because you don't have to wait in the line. The day of, there's always a long line to get in, and people get really impatient. Um, so I don't have a QR code to put in the line itself, which I probably should start
Oh,
doing.
then they
So
can just
people
buy
can,
them right then and there online. Yes.
yeah, people get pissed when they're waiting in line for some reason, and it's not like a big deal. Like it's only like a couple minute wait, but the scannable tickets are so much easier because people just walk in, scan, done. As opposed to like people got to dig out their cards, they got to dig out cash, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, I
So
get.
so anyway, but social media, there is a Facebook event page with the ticket link. on Facebook. I think it's up to like, I don't know, maybe a couple of thousand at this point or something like that.
And that's in the Dark Arts Festival?
Yep. If you go to any Horror Depot, you can look up Dark Arts Festival and Facebook it'll come right up as an event. If you go to
Horror Depot has its own Facebook, I take it too, though.
Yeah. There's no Dark Arts Festival Facebook.
It's just an event.
Really,
it's more of an event page.
Yeah, because I do so many events that I can't manage.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
It's
easier to just create event pages than to make a page for every
event. So if you go to Horror Depot on Instagram, you'll see Dark Arts Festival stuff. If you go to Horror Depot on Twitter, there's Dark Arts Festival stuff. If you go to Horror Depot on Facebook, you'll see it. Same thing with
I'm going to post a link in the description of this video later too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. TikTok has it too. The only thing is TikTok, I made an Eventbrite, so there is a service charge because the website doesn't attach to TikTok, but Eventbrite does. So the only way I could sell tickets on TikTok was through Eventbrite.
Everybody else buying tickets don't have to go. Well, and they don't have to go through Eventbrite, you're saying?
Nope. You can go to horrordepot.com
and buy it directly.
$10 plus the Rhode Island sales tax that I need to charge.
And then the people that, some people just like to go to Eventbrite for the sole fact that you can return the tickets with these, or if there's an issue, cancellation, they tend to refund or whatever, but it does have a little bit of a service fee.
Yeah, and some people do that. And then the day of, I usually have a bunch of returns. So a bunch of people will buy tickets, and if they can't make it, you can return them. And
you think people buy them and try to resell them for higher value? I've seen that happen in the restaurant. They buy a bunch and try to sell them for $5 more, then they get stuck with them. They got to return them.
Yeah. So if you feel like maybe you can't make it, Eventbrite might be for you. Because you can return them, I think, up until the day of. I'm not.
I'll be honest with you though. Who can? Let's face it. It's kind of easy to lose $10.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever you do, you can lose $10 pretty fast.
Yeah. So it doesn't hurt to. Pre-sales are nice.
But that's what I said. At least pre-sales, it's good more for you, so you know what you have coming in. So it kind of can dictate. Hey, I got X and Y. I can bring in Y, Z. I can do this. It lets you know a little bit about what your, income is like for the show. But again, that mixed with sponsors and everything else, it makes for a nice time. I really do believe sponsors make the world go around. I sponsor a lot of independent wrestling, and and do that because I feel that I learned a long time ago. Google ads is nice and all these ads are nice, but it wasn't hitting people that were actually doing anything. But if I sponsor a wrestling show, at least I know the people that are at that show that hear my name, or they hear my name on IWTV or wherever, they actually watch wrestling. They're wrestling fans. So they're going to come back and actually maybe watch a wrestling podcast. Yeah. Rather than just be some generalized person that might not give a shit about anything. I don't know. But so I've always found that doing, plus it's the win-win situation. I know that money helps. It helps make for a better show. Yeah. It helps a promoter bring in people. It helps offset costs.
Yeah. I also I have sponsors as well. And I got to tell you, having a sponsor means so much more than people think it does. And those sponsors, they get their money's worth. They all have a spot. They get to pick their own spot. And then on top of that, they get to put stuff in the swag bags. They get to really, they're on all my marketing. The flyers have the sponsors on the bottom. And so you're absolutely correct. If anybody does have a business, sponsorship and the right kind of sponsorship is probably the best thing you'll ever do with your business.
It is both. It's a win-win. You finding the right person to sponsor, if you're in the ability to be able to throw money down, and then vice versa, finding the right people to represent you
Yeah.
and work with you. And it's one big cycle. Like I said, I've gotten my name out there just by, working with other promotions, going, hey, yes, I want to sponsor these matches, or hey, I'll bring in this guy, or hey, let's work on doing this. And some receptive, some are not. Some people just or whatever. It's all business. Others treat me like family. It is what it is. But again, it's my form of promotion. This is how I self promote. This is my advertisement. I don't Google ad. I don't run any of those other ads. You're not going to see me on a Facebook ad saying listen to VSW podcast. You will hear this next match is presented to you by VSW podcast. That's what you'll hear if you watch wrestling. But you'll never see annoying ads or over and over again. I don't do that. I just don't. It just led nowhere. I did it one time. And it just landed. I think I lost subscribers that month because people found it annoying. And I'm like, I don't want to be annoying. I'll never use the ad for every follower. I'll never use the ad everyone. I'll never do any of those cheap tactics to get everybody's attention. If people see my stuff, they do. If they don't, sometimes it's a few days later. If they miss it completely, then hey, I'm not hot right now. I'll be hot again in a couple of weeks. The algorithms go like this on every social media page constantly. There's always a new craze that outdoes the last craze. And sometimes you take off and sometimes you don't. And the only thing you can keep doing is keep doing it because it's a machine. You keep feeding this machine content, and eventually it gets up there and different ones will take off. But you got to keep feeding that machine. Otherwise, everything just stops. It's crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
But like I said, I enjoy all of that. I enjoy seeing people take off. I am seeing people, have success, whether it be via social media, physical media. You tell me, oh my God, this has been the biggest, festival ever. We got such and such sales and so many people, and the authors were all ecstatic, and everybody left empty-handed because they had no more books left to sell. I would say congratulations. That's amazing. Like, what I'm saying? Like you said, it costs nothing to be kind or cool or to even, wish well upon others. It costs nothing. That doesn't cost you any money. For me to wish you success doesn't cost me anything.
Just you letting me come on means the world. Like, this is the first podcast I've done for the festival. So, like, that's awesome. And I appreciate it. I'm really grateful.
Like I said, that's what I like to do. I like to get eyes and ears on things, and I'm hoping people do, take the time, listen to this. Again, I'll send you a link after. But I do hope people, get to see what the festival is about if they don't already know. And because not everything does get seen on social media. Things get overlooked. We live in a very busy world where so much sometimes comes out at the same time that things just get passed. And so, it's great. The more eyes and ears on something, the more chances that somebody can see it. That's all it is. It's the more chances somebody can see it. And all it takes is one person to see it and say, hey, I want to go check this out. And they bring their wife, they bring their friend, they bring whoever, and they like it. And they say, oh, this was awesome. Yeah. And they wait till the next year, and then they bring their friends. And now all of a sudden, you've got 7 new people coming to your show every year. That's 7 more sales. That's 7 more bodies. That's 7 more people that are digging what you're doing.
Yeah. And, selfishly, it's really awesome when I'm set up somewhere and somebody runs over and they're like, oh, hey, I went to this last year, or hey, I missed it last year, but the first year was awesome. And those people like had such a good time that they want to come back. And they're like, oh, I can't believe you're doing it again. And like that, like selfishly, I'm like, yay, I did something good. So
yeah,
it means a lot to me too, that people get enjoyment out of something that I'm doing. Like, it's a lot of hard work.
Well, I know I can't wait for September. Is going to be stacked. Like I said, this is horror and dark stuff every single weekend, every day of every weekend. It's incredible. There's so many conventions going on from Connecticut to Rhode Island to Worcester, Mass, to all these areas. All sorts of celebrities, all these and anniversary parties and different things. I can't wait for it. It'll be the first time coming out to your festival, but I will be excited for it and can't wait.
Nice. Thanks, man.
Thank you for coming on, though, and we will keep in touch. Any other news or anything, maybe we'll have you come back on as we get closer at the end of August.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
But thank you for taking the time, and thank you for doing what you do, because honestly, it seems like it's a very good cause, bringing a lot of people in that community, in different communities, actually, together to create something pretty special.
Thanks, man.
And thank you, everybody at home, for watching. Hope you've enjoyed tonight's episode. Make sure to stay subscribed. We're always doing something spooky. Don't forget movie night Saturday night, Rosemary's Baby. Hope you have your crucifixes. Sachi Stoner out.